Hey guys, this is Dr. Jennifer Paul with Conscious Healing Solutions, and it is time for Free Therapy Friday. I'm coming to you guys from Wisconsin, where I am visiting my parents, so I apologize for the hair. We were out on the boat all day, but I wanted to tune in with you guys for this edition of Free Therapy Friday and talk to you guys really about the idea of consciousness. And really kind of that idea is, what is consciousness? How do we know if we're not conscious, and how do we begin to get there? So this is by no means going to be an all-inclusive discussion of it, because consciousness it's a big concept, and it takes time, and it takes a process. So today I'm hoping to just kind of start you out on that journey into consciousness. So I want to start out by talking to you guys about just this idea of kind of being on autopilot in our life and kind of going through the motions. And if you're anything like me, you're probably a mental multitasker. You have 10 things going in your head at once. You're trying to do 3 different things at the same time. You're not really getting through your day. You're just kind of existing through your day, probably not aware of a lot of your thoughts and feelings. I struggle with this as well. And that got me to realize that I need to develop a level of more consciousness in my life. So what is consciousness? Consciousness is really awareness. It is awareness of how we really feel. And being aware of all of our emotions, not just the happiness, but also being aware of when we're sad, when we're angry, when we're feeling frustrated. It's awareness of our thoughts. It's being aware of, okay, how does my thinking start to dictate how I behave in certain situations? And it's fully participating in our lives. Being conscious of what we're doing is full participation, and it really starts with full participation even in the seemingly mundane tasks in life. I started out this journey of practicing consciousness and full participation in things as simple as washing the dishes, paying attention to what was coming up for me, paying attention to how I was thinking about my day, paying attention to even the feeling of the hot water hitting my hand. It's fully participating in what we're doing in the moment, because that's the thing that's going to help us step away from that mental multitasking, not really being present in our lives. Now here's the thing. Consciousness isn't all good, or it's not all joyful. When we start to really practice consciousness, what we start to do is actually have to step into our pain. We have to start to be conscious of the things that maybe we've been avoiding. And if we're conscious of it, what that means is we can probably no longer avoid it. Consciousness requires us to step out of denial and look at those things in life that maybe we've been trying to push away. So consciousness is it can be a difficult process, and here's the thing. We can't think our way into consciousness. We also have to allow ourselves to feel. So how do we begin? How do we begin this act of consciousness? And the first step is paying attention to ourselves. I've had some clients that have actually participated in taking a self-inventory. Some of them would even keep a daily thought or feelings log. They didn't have to do it all day, every day, but 2 or 3 times throughout the day, they would actually check in with how they felt, what they were thinking, and how that dictated how they were behaving through that day. When we're practicing consciousness, another thing, again, that we have to do is deliberately check in with ourselves. Take a look at what's going on internally. Now, this can be a difficult thing, because a lot of us at times don't even know how we're feeling, or we're so used to having these thought patterns that they become automatic thoughts. It doesn't mean they're healthy, but it means they're there. To become conscious of these things, there are times where we do have to seek out therapy. You know, having another set of ears, another set of eyes, somebody to actually process these things with, can really help you kind of to have a greater awareness into what's going on for you. And a lot of times, awareness of these kind of self-defeating patterns of thoughts and feelings. When we're conscious of those, only when we're conscious of these things can we actually begin to change. Another thing I want you guys to do is pay attention to your present moment experiences. Again, as I shared with you, it can be as simple as paying attention while you're washing the dishes, cleaning the house, paying attention to how you're feeling when you're sitting with your child, when you're sitting alone. Check in with yourself. What you might find, whether it's through your self-teaching of consciousness, or whether it is through actual therapy, I think what you'll begin to find is you're going to start to proceed a little differently and start to maybe react to people a little bit differently. And again, this work takes time. Maybe for the next week, think about just one thing in your day, one thing each day, trying to be conscious of how it's impacting you, trying to be conscious of how you're feeling about it, try to be conscious of what you're thinking about it, and really dive into this idea of fully participating in each of those experiences. So again, a lot of us need help with practicing consciousness, right? It can be a difficult journey, not only because it takes time, but because it's going to require us to step into the things that maybe aren't so comfortable. And guys, at the end of the day, there are ways to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. What we're going to talk about next time is kind of that next step is once we're conscious in our lives, then that's going to begin to allow us to take a real look at the things that aren't working. When we're conscious of our self-defeating thoughts, when we're conscious of the emotions that maybe we're feeling too intensely to be able to proceed, that's when we can start to actually sort of unprogram from those. We can start to pull back, reprogram how we want to start thinking about life, how we want to start reacting, how we want to start to regulate our emotions. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.